Um, there's no secret that you have, excuse me, cap issues. You're not alone in that.
Well, there's 31 other teams almost, Bob.
Well, that's the point. But truthfully, there isn't a lot of room there. Was that an issue in terms of Klingberg? Because he seemed to be a guy that would be a perfect fit for what you need in Vancouver. Jimmy?
Yeah, well, we were not in a position to go after a player like that. But looking for a right shot defenseman, it would be ideal right now. Our defense right now is good enough to win. Okay. But there's question marks there. Okay. We've got Rathbone, who's a young player that's tracking in the right direction, deserves the opportunity to be in Vancouver this year. If he comes in and plays the way he played in the American League last year and stays healthy, that's going to improve our defense. The big question mark is Pullman. Pullman, when he's playing and without any injuries, is a good, solid defenseman, can actually play in our top four. But there's question marks around his health, and that's gonna be something we're gonna have to watch. If all those guys stay healthy, our team is strong enough to be a playoff team. But if something goes wrong in that defense, which we know could, that's going to be an issue. So we'll continue to look at our defense. We've got to rebuild that right side, get it younger over time. We'd like to do it today. Those opportunities aren't there. It always sounds like I'm preaching patience. I'm just preaching reality. If the right person's there and we can plug them into the Canucks, we're going to do it as soon as we can.
On that point, how would you, I mean, with the cap being so flat, with everybody pinching pennies, this is a strange summer, isn't it? It really is quite different than most, isn't it?
Well, people talk about teams being in cap trouble, but in fairness to the general managers, if we didn't have COVID, we didn't go through what we've gone through over the last couple of years, the cap would be almost $90 million now. And all teams are going to be, not all teams, but the contending teams are always going to play that game. They're going to be up against the cap, but you wouldn't have as many teams up against it. And you wouldn't have the kind of deals that are going on where you're paying a team to take a player from you. And so that's the reason we are where we are. But now that we're there, we just have to figure out how to work our way through it or make the best of what we have with the players we have. Certainly Bruce came in and got the most out of the players that we have. And that's what we have to continue to do until we can make the right changes.
Do you have a philosophy on giving up players in order to create cap space? Sometimes I guess you have to do it, but I wonder whether theoretically you object to that or are opposed to it, or you just live with it.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm one of the first guys that did it with Fleury, and that was tough to do. We love the guy, and but it was obvious that at that point that something had to be done. He did not want to be in that 2-goalie system in Pittsburgh anymore, and so I worked with him and got him to Vegas. But it's not something that you take great pride in doing. You do it if you have to do it. Now in Vancouver, we're trying to gather more assets. We're trying to get more draft picks and more younger players. We might get ourselves in a position at some point that we have to do it, but we'd prefer not to give some kind of an younger asset in order for a team to take a contract from us.
What do you do with JT Miller?
Well, it's been an interesting process only because it's become so public and there's been so many stories thrown out in the public about him that have not been accurate. And he was our best forward last year. He's a very good player. He'll be a good player for a long time. We would like to re-sign him if possible.
Mhm.
We're a long ways apart. I think it'll be hard to get to a point where he'll have a comfort level on what we're able to do. And if we can't do that, then it's the obvious. Then we'll have to do the best we can to put him in a place where he's going to get his contract and we're going to get the right assets back that can help the Canucks in the future.
But you said something, because the one thing that's always amazed me about Miller has been so good for Vancouver. He has played well for your club. I mean, he's got leadership skills. He's still great around the net. How do you? I mean, is it just a case? I mean, and you don't want to have to go through what Brad Treliving had a hellish month of the last 30 days between the Goudreau thing, which they let him go to free agency, and Matthew Tkachuk, who said, "I'm not going to sign here long term." So how do you manage that, particularly in such a public scenario in Vancouver?
Well, if we get to the point that that we know that we can't bring him back, we have to try to get something for him. Yeah. And that's what we'll do. But we're not going to be able to replace this guy. To your point, how good he's been in Vancouver, he's been very, very good year in and year out. He has a career year last year. He may not get 99 points again this year. He may only get 80 points, but he's still an impact player and one of the top forwards on the Canucks team, if not the top forward. And I believe the way he takes care of himself, he's going to be able to play for a long time. He's going to be able to help. If it's not the Canucks, it's somebody else. So we will continue through this process, see where it goes. I know Patrick Alvin talks to the JT's agent periodically, and we'll just see where it goes. But hopefully we can figure out a way to keep him, because he is a very, very good player.
Do you have a timeline, Jim? Like, can you see him starting the season with you?
Well, yeah. I mean, if we don't have him signed and nobody's made an offer that makes sense for us, then you don't have any other choice. Where it gets really to the pressure point is a month leading into the trade deadline. If something hasn't been done by then the pressure is really on us at that point, because we really don't want to be in a position that we don't get anything in return if we can't keep them.